Welcome to TC26. This is a session that Jeff and I, we were the first ones to do a speed tipping session, so they're all pretenders, everybody else. So we decided we would bring it back this year. We did it 2 or 3 years in a row. We did a speed charts one time. So we're going to kind of do a mix of everything. A lot of things we learned since then, some of the favorites from back then. But this is Jeff. He's a Tableau Visionary Hall of Famer. I'm Andy. I'm a Tableau Visionary Hall of Famer. Jeff, get us going.
One of the big things that's changed in 10 years is I need reading glasses to do these speed tips. So here we go, reading glasses on. We're going to get started here with some speed tips. Now, just to introduce myself, I am at the University of Cincinnati.
Hey,
how about I put some stuff up?
Come on.
All right. Are we up? See, we messed up already. These guys have been awesome. Give these guys a round of applause, by the way. These guys are terrific. All right, now I'm going. All right, my name is Jeff Shafer. I'm from the University of Cincinnati. There's some stuff up there, but the thing I really want to show you is this collapsible container I added. When I do PowerPoint slides in Tableau, you can't really do animations, but can you? You can click a button and have some animations. So there's Toby, my dog, and so I do that sometimes. All right, that wasn't really a tip, but you can count it. All right, so here we are. Any old Tableau folks in here a long time back before we had tables and we had people and we had returns and then this line that separates the dimensions from the measures, you might just want to go back to the old way of doing things. Group by folder, all your dimensions are up there, all your measures are down there. I don't know, it's just easier to find some things alphabetically sometimes, makes it a whole lot easier. These tips are going to be quick. My favorite quick color tip is you can drag things from the axis over. So I am dragging this blue like X thing, triangle in the corner there, and we just put that right on color. You can do that with any of them. You could throw a subcategory on there and it will go to detail, but you can drag anything over there. So even if I go back and drag, say for example, sales up there, we can drag sales up there, you'll get a sequential color. So you can do that from either axis. All right, I use this one all the time. I don't know, might be just easy for everybody to think about, but gosh, I hate changing all these default properties. So what I'm going to do is use my Shift key or my command to multi-select. In this case, I'm just going to Shift and select all of those pills at the same time, because what I want to change is right-click on one of them or hit that little drop-down box there that keeps disappearing on me. Come on, drop down. And I'm just going to change the default properties on that aggregation so that I don't have to worry about sum. I'm going to change them to average, and they will all go to average, and anytime I use those pills, it'll be average, and I don't have to change them one at a time on the fly. All right, this is a fun one. If I'm going to build a scatter plot here, and let's just start from scratch here. I'm going to build this scatter plot from scratch, and I'm going to start with just a filter on year. This doesn't really need to be here, but I just want to get it down to a single year for something else I'm going to show you. So, scatter plot. I like to double-click pills. Double-click life expectancy of a female, that goes to columns. Double-click the birth rate, that goes to vice versa, it goes to rows and columns. Then I'm going to double-click my country, that's going to go to the details. Blow that up. I'm going to double-click my region. I really want it on color. It's actually going to go to shape, right? So we'll just do a quick thing there, and I have my scatter plot. I'm going to kick it in entire view, so I have my scatter plot in entire view. Now, none of that is the tip. The tip is if you have two things that you want to compare, it's easy to do in the scatter plot. But what if you want to do multiple measures and you want to compare? You want to do a scatter matrix. And a scatter matrix requires a lot of pills to be moving around on the canvas. Or does it? What happens if I add infant mortality rate? I'm just going to double-click it. What if I add health expectancy per capita? Double-click it. What if I want to add the next one, GDP? Double-click it. All of those pills are moving up there for me in pairs. It creates the scatter matrix, and now I can see my dimensions in this beautiful scatter matrix. Now, quick problem here. If I want to then add a trend line, I'm going to have a couple problems. It only adds the trend line for the one that I formatted, so that's not helpful. Also, when I try to change it to a single trend line, that won't work either. So what I'm going to do is right-click here and add my trend line first. And when I add my trend line, I'm going to go change it. And this is another tip for you. If you go into the white area and click your trend line, for whatever reason, you can't edit them. I don't know, it's gray. So it makes you think you can't edit these things. Well, just right-click on it and edit it right there. And I don't know why that works. Thanks, Tableau. Any Tableau employees here? Allow trend line per color. We're going to take that off. I have a single trend line. Go back and repeat my steps, add infant mortality, add this, add that, and I have a single trend line for all of my scatter matrix. Easy enough. Hierarchy. Gosh, I have a viz later that I need some hierarchy in this old coffee chain data. Gosh, I'm old for remembering coffee chain data. Product, product line, product type, and maybe type. I don't want state, so I'll get that out of there. I could right-click on those and go down to the hierarchy and create a hierarchy, yes. But I could also just pick 2 of these or 3 of these. I don't want state in here again. And I'm going to drag them up on top of product. Just drag them up, 1, 2, 3, or 8 of them. It'll create a hierarchy for you, and now you have your hierarchy. Quick hierarchy, easy enough to do that. We'll come back and fix that one in a little bit. Well, let's just do it now. Double-click product, and I get the plus sign. But when I do this, it's not really in the order I want. So if I want to change the order, of course I could change it up on the pills and just move pills around. That's easy enough because, hey, I want product type over here. But once I get it the way that I want it, I really need to change it maybe over in here. So just remember over here, you want product line at the top, drag it up. You see that black line, let's just get it set for later, and I'll have it all set for the next time I use this data set. Easy enough. All right, same thing with LODs. You want to do a quick LOD, you're going to go to your sales. I'm going to do this in the Superstore data, actually. So let's go to Superstore and say I want to do sales at state, fixed on state. We saw this in the tip battle. If you were here, if you did not, no big deal. Let me make this a little wider so you can see me do this in one fell swoop. So here we go, sales. I'm going to hold down my control key. I'm going to drag it up to state, drop it on there, and I get a calculated field down here for the fixed LOD. Now, when I go to that fixed LOD, keep me honest on time here, Andy, because I'm not paying attention.
Going about 5 minutes too long.
Go over here to edit. We got a fixed LOD on that. Now, what if I wanted to fix this on everything in the data set? Well, you know, I could just take that out. That's fixed on everything. By the way, you don't even need that. That's fixed on everything. So there's a fixed sum of sales on the entire data set. Quick tip for you. You don't have to type all that. All right, some fun with measure names and values, and we're going to use this in a couple different places a little later. But with measure names and values, you have 2 different ways to do it, right? You could drag your measure names and values to the canvas, which I will do if I need all of them. But if I don't need all of them in the table, then I'll drag it to a different place. Now, let's say I want to add profit to this table. If I add it in the black box, I automatically get the measure names and measure values. And so there we have measure names and measure values, and I have my 2 in a table. What else you may have not noticed is measure names is on your filter, so if you want to do that, you can add them later. And a quick way to build out your table without dragging anything, you can just do that right there on your filters. We'll come back and do another thing with that in a little bit. Row banding. What if you want to change your row banding colors? I'm not big on a lot of row banding, but that gray is really light. Of course, you can right-click, go to the, right-click over here, go to the format, and in your color, you have row banding color. So let's change the row banding color and say, oh, I'd like to have maybe blue on that. Maybe we'll go with a nice blue color. I better change it in both places, because otherwise I'm not going to get the same row banding color. But what if I wanted to alternate with a different color? What if I wanted blue and like a light yellow? Very simple to do. Just change your sheet pane to whatever your alternating color is right there. And if you want to do it on the headers too, you can do that too. So you can just do that right there. And now you have the alternating colors. And so there you have whatever you want. Just change your pane color. All right, let's jump to time. We're at time? You want to switch? That's a good spot. Let's do it. Go.
Okay, good. You've got 52 seconds.
I'm advocating my time. Over to you. Advocating?
Abdicating?
Abdicating.
Abdicating.
There you go.
Whatever the senators do when they're angry.
My esteemed colleague from, where are you from?
England.
I think it's Philly.
Right.
I think it's Philly.
Philadelphia, yes. Go Birds. All right, so I decided last minute, that it's not, helps if I play.
I got you. You hooked.
Yeah, I think it's going now. Can't find my mouse. Is it up?
Yep.
Okay, so I decided while I was sitting outside before the session that I would add a tip. So if this breaks, then it's Jeff's fault. So what I've done here is, this is just some geographic data. I filtered it down to a single, it's basically Strava data. Filtered it down to a single record. So if you want to look at all of the records, and see what the route looks like, you could just double click on latitude and longitude. It takes you to northern England where we live. And let's say I want to turn that into a route. So I'm going to make this a line instead, which doesn't look like it changes anything. But when I bring in each individual measurement from my watch, I can drag that onto, oops, how am I forgetting my own shortcut keys? Michael, I'm forgetting. Oh, sorry, I'm choking. There we go. So now we get a nice little route like that, right? Super simple. And then, I can choose the different date. Let me just pick, I'm just going to change one. Anyway, doesn't matter. So we have something like that. But what I want to do is I want to make it kind of normalized. So I want to make it go on a scale of 0 to 1 to make them all fit in a nice little grid. So what I've done is I've created two calculations. One is my latitude range, and this is, well, I could show you a tip while we're here. So you can hit Control and plus to zoom in on your calculations, or you can scroll. But this is basically putting everything on a normalized range for my latitude, and I have the same thing for my longitude. So if I go to a new sheet for that, I don't know why that's there, and I double click on those fields, if I could, oh, let's not do that. This is my next favorite tip, is to click on this little X here, and it clears the sheet so you can pretend like you didn't do anything in the first place. That's really handy for when you mess up. So let me do this again, as I'm doing here. So let me just pick the first one this time. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the latitude range on my rows and the longitude range on my columns. And did I do that right? Yep, that's right. And I want to turn this into a line and put that same field onto the path shelf. Right, so we get something like that. And notice I'm right-clicking and dragging, and if I do the entire view, I get something like that. So, but Maggie doesn't fit in there, so I need to actually change Maggie's size and multiply it by 100 because she's quite large. And this is called a Labrador chart. So, all right. So let me go back to our regularly scheduled program. So actually, one of my favorite things that I love showing people is just being able to drag and drop data sets into the view. If you are going to, up here, and you're going to, I don't even know where to go. You click on that, and then you pick more, and it takes you forever to navigate to the file. Easiest thing to do is to just grab it. Which one have I not put on the view yet? Let's look at grocery sales, and just drag that on top of the view, and you're good to go, right? So don't waste any time. If you have a flat file, just drop it on there. And notice how Tableau here, let me do my mouse. Oh, there we go. Oh, my mouse isn't working either. I am really choking here. So Tableau gives you a preview of 100 rows. So I think if I do that, nope, that's not working either. But I can change that. I can make it, 100,000 or 10,000, whatever number it is I typed in there. And now you can get a preview of that many records. Be careful, it's a large data set like I just did, because now Tableau's going to crash on me. So let's hit cancel, and I'm going to go to a new sheet for that. So that's one of my favorite things to do there, is to drag and drop the view on there. All right, so how many of you, when you build a bar chart, you drag the measure to the columns and you drag the category to the rows? How many people do it that way? Okay, you're taking too long. So what you can do is, I'm going to go ahead and put my category on the rows, but actually another way that you could do a bar chart is to actually drag the measure onto the size and change the mark type to a bar and set it to entire view and maybe sort it, and there you go. You've got a bar chart with no axis. Useless? Pretty much, yeah, but it's neat that you can do that. Okay, so then what I want to do, though, is I want to go over here and I want to add a reference line. Well, I can't because I don't have an axis, so why don't I just move this back over here and we'll get it straight. There we go. But if you want to put a reference line on, most of the time, you grab one and you drag it over. Well, if I know I want an average line, just double-click on it, and there we go. We have our average line a lot quicker. And this is something I learned after using Tableau for, I don't know, 12 years, is that you can actually just drag the reference lines off. I don't know if anybody knew that, but woo, I was like, what the hell just happened there? Okay, so what I want to do now is I actually want to compare everything to that reference line. So what you can do is, if you look at a reference line, easiest way to turn a reference line into a calculation is to put the word window before the word average. So what I mean by that is, if I hit OK, and I create a new calculated field, and I'll call this my average, just do it something like that. I'm going to just do a window average and then drag my field inside of the calculation. Super simple, hit OK. So I've got that. So if I drag it, you can see what it's going to do. So you don't think I'm lying. I'm going to compute that by category, and there we go. We've got the same distance as the reference line. but I actually want to color code those by their comparison to the reference line. All right, so I'm going to do, I'll just say versus, or if I could type, and I'm going to do the line total minus the versus the average, so something like that. Drag that onto color, and there we go. We've got multiple colors, but I actually only want 2 colors. So I could go into the legend, and how many of you would do it this way? Go in there, set the step color to 2, customize the colors on the end. Absolute pain in the ass. About 40 clicks later, you have the formatting you're after. Well, the easiest thing to do is to actually just wrap this in a sign function. So if you just, not sing though, because the calculations don't sing. So wrap that in a sign function. It turns it into a -1 and a 1, and there you go. So now this is giving me just a diverging axis, but I could change that to discrete. And now I've got more control over what the colors are. So sign function, super handy if you don't use it. All right, where am I at here, Jeff? Moving the reference lines to the back. Anybody know how to do that? Reference lines are always in the front. It's actually very, very easy. So I have this average field that I just created, and I've got multiple ways I can do a dual axis chart. So let me get rid of this. And I could drag the field up here, right click, and do dual axis, right? It's an extra click. Well, let's do that. All right, so I'm going to hit undo. Let me take this field off of color. It's annoying. But instead, a quicker way to do a dual axis is just drag it until you see that little dotted line. Drop it there, and I'll go ahead and tell it to commute using the nothing because I messed up. But anyway, but now we have control of this. So I can synchronize the axis, go ahead and move those to the back. And now what I can do is on this average line, I could just make that a Gantt bar. Where is Gantt? Down there. And if I make these as wide as they'll go, so let's make that really big, and let's make the other one a bit smaller. There we go. I've moved the reference line to the back. So, okay. But while I'm here, I actually don't want to see this axis at the bottom. I only want to see the axis at the top. Well, if I try to hide this axis, if I right-click on that and uncheck Show Header, the one at the top disappears as well. The easiest way to fix that is to actually right-click on this field at the bottom and format it. And just go ahead and make it white. There you go. That's done. Easy enough. Nobody liked that one. Okay. All right, so I'll do a, let's see. And now I want to also show you multiple places where you can sort the chart. I can think of 4. So you can hover over the axis and click the little sort icon there if you want. You can click on it here, so I could sort here by whatever the field is. I can go up here to this little tiny, if you can click on this, you've got very good eyesight, so you can click on that. But I actually don't want my users to be able to see the sort controls because I want to kind of like lock it in place so they don't screw it up because users never mess anything up. So what you can do is up here on Worksheet, you can go here and uncheck Show Sort Controls, and now they can no longer sort the graph. And if you find the labels annoying at the top, because you would probably name this something like, sales by category, just right-click on that word category and hide the field labels, and there you go. You've cleaned up your graph quite a bit there. And I'm going to show one more.
Yeah.
I still have time? Okay. Oh, I've got loads of time.
You got a minute?
Okay, so let me create a new sheet here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you, I don't know if I've shown you this one in Next Level Tableau. So I'm going to just look at like quarterly sales, something like that. But this is groceries because, can't use Superstore, so you just rename it to grocery store sales. And what I want to do is I want to allow my users to be able to zoom in on this, on the axis, or not. So I've created a parameter called zoom, and it just has, yes or no, very simple. So I'm going to create a new calculated field. I'm going to call this my zoomies. And Jeff's the only one that got that. So I'm going to say something like, if my zoom field, if that's true, so I don't even need to type anything else, then I'm going to have it as 0, and then otherwise nothing. So it's going to return null. Excellent. So let's go ahead and show that parameter. And I'm going to drag zoomies to the detail. And now if I go up to the analytics pane, I can drag on a reference line for my sales. And I'm going to use zoomies as my reference line and hit OK. And you can format it if you want. But now if I say, oops, I've got it backwards. So ignore what I just did there. So if it is true, do I want to zoom? Yes. All right. So yeah, so don't do that because it's not working. It's supposed to zoom. I don't know what I did wrong, sorry. Okay, pretend like that one worked. The idea is, thank you. The idea is the reference line will hide, and then it makes the chart. Oh, I know what I did. Sorry, let me go back.
Do it.
So before Jeff yells at me. So I need to edit my axis is what I need to do, and I need to uncheck include 0. And now it's not going to work again.
There it goes.
And I just have my yes and no backwards, but yeah.
Thank you.
Whew, pressure.
You want your
Better
phone?
practice while I'm sitting. No, that's my, don't mess up my tips.
I just erased them. Are we up? We're up. We're not up. We're down. We're up. All right. Dashboard. Let's go to a dashboard. Boy, everything is moving on me. You know you can Control C and Control V things? Did you know that? That's kind of cool. Let's go up and format this button. How many of you make custom buttons in PowerPoint? Yeah, custom buttons in PowerPoint, right? We're going to go up here and edit the button. And instead of doing this in PowerPoint, I've already made the font bold and whatever. I'm going to take this border off. I'm going to make the font white for a second, just for a second there. And we're just going to give it a background color of some light blue, maybe. We'll just do that. And so our button now looks like that. Now, still not great, but with the new rounded corners, of course, we can click on that like an object, go over to our rounded corners, hit 15 on that, and maybe give it a border in here, like a dark blue border. And now we have something that, well, let's give it a little more of a border. Let's give it a real thick one so everybody in the back can see it. But now we have a button formatted, and that's nice. Now, that button takes us to our home page. So if I click on that button, I go to our home page. But now I need a back button to get back to this dashboard that's way over somewhere else. So remember, I just told you you can copy and paste. You could also copy a dashboard button. Did anybody know you could do that? You could go over to where you want to paste it on in there, and now you have a dashboard button on this page. Now we can just go edit it without reformatting it, go edit our button. Instead, point this back to, I don't know what this was, called background something. Dashboard objects, and easy enough, we'll click OK. I could change the name, of course, to back or forward or whatever, but now we have buttons that work both ways, and I don't have to reformat everything. All right, this dashboard is featured in our new book, the Dashboards That Deliver. Of course, there's those formatted PowerPoint buttons that didn't show up right because it didn't copy over with the shapes. That's not my tip, though. My tip is over here on the expand and collapse. We saw this in the tip battle. I use this all the time. If you're trying to go down into the hierarchy, hit the asterisk key and just hit it twice on this. So I'm going to hit my tile over here and just hit that asterisk key twice. And it'll expand everything. And if you want to minimize it again, thank you. Want to minimize it again, just hit your minus key, and it'll do that.
How the hell did you find that?
You know, I don't know. I sit at home watching TV just hitting buttons on, I'll hit the asterisk key 3 times, see what happens. All right, so Andy showed us a quick dual access, which I'm going to use here. I have the gap gender pay between men and women on weekly. I want to add women to this. I'd like to make it a dumbbell chart. That takes a dual access. I got to do a whole bunch of things to create this thing. Wouldn't it be nice if I could just do a quick dual access? Well, I can do that, but I can also do quick measure names and values. So I'm going to take women's weekly. Instead of putting it up at the top for the dual access, I'm going to put it down at the bottom where men is, and I'm going to get instant measure names and measure values. Then I'm going to take that measure values from over here and use Andy's trick for the quick dual access. Now I have 2 of them, do one there with a line, and now I have my barbell chart when I put this on path. So I have a quick barbell. All right, let's keep going here. Let's talk about Z order. On this chart, this is complicated. So many things with Z order. Got the X, we got the Y, but where's the Z? Like front and back. Well, my line is above my dots. Now, if you didn't know this, you could right-click on the axis, and you could move the mark to the front or the back. So you can move marks that way. I don't recommend you doing it because it'll change the order of your pills, and you won't understand on the marks. So you won't understand that your marks card, the order of your pills, you have the lowest level on the top and the highest level on the bottom. So what I do instead is I just leapfrog these 2 pills. That will change the marks card. Now my circle is on the bottom, my line is on the top. It's backwards though, circles on top of the marks, and I have that. What's weird, though, is then I got this tooltip thing. I have a tooltip on my circle, and I have a tooltip on my line, and my line changes when I go past the half. I don't really like that. You can't go into the tooltip in here and uncheck it. Trust me, that doesn't work. Just delete it. Get rid of that here, and when you get rid of that, when you hover over that line, nothing pops. When you hover over the dot, it still pops. So easy enough. All right, what about Z order in a different way? You can control your Z order, which one's on top and bottom, from your color legend. That also changes the sort order here. So I have Africa and Asia, but let's say I wanted to put this in a quick order. If I bring Europe to the top, it moves over to that side. If I bring Europe to the bottom, it moves over to that side. So really quickly, I could just drag and drop these and create a nice order of most. I got one backwards in here, I guess. We'll just flip these two. And now I go from most to least. I think I just made it worse. From here to here. All right, that's all good, but here's where it gets really complicated. What about you're trying to control the Z order on this beautiful scatter plot, Gapminder from Hans Rosling, right? I can't get to those dots under here. Why is it that I can get to this dot, can't get to that dot, can't get to that dot, but one of these dots over here, oh, wait a minute, I can get to Armenia. Why can I get to Armenia, but I can't get to the other ones? That's because it's alphabetical order. Why is it choosing alphabetical order? Because country is first over here. Now, if I wanted Africa to be ahead of Asia, then I could take region and put it up on the top, and then any blue dot would be ahead of the orange dot. See, I can get to the blue dot, I can get to the orange dot, but it doesn't solve my problem over here. So the other part of this order is the order of your legends, the order of your pills, the order of your marks, and also your sort order. If I go in here and do the sort order on this, and instead of doing alphabetical, I say I'm going to do this to a field, such as, what am I using here? Population. So go find population total and do that in descending order or ascending order. I'm going to go ascending, so the small one is on the top, and now I can get to all of these dots because the smaller dots are underneath, are now on top of the bigger dots. All right. Andy did a zoom, cool zoom, with a parameter. Did you know in a map you have these map options and you can zoom in a map? Well, if you go over to a scatter plot, you can do the same thing. Look, it's even showing up for me. How do you get it? Right-click and show your view toolbar, and you now have the same options on a map that you would on anything else. So if I want to zoom into this area, do that. Also, a good way to set your axis, because now I don't have to set my axis at 40. I just pin my axis to that as well. And if I want to change it to a selection, all of a sudden I can change it to a selection and just select, say, these two dots, these three dots. Also, did you know you can Control-C and take that over to a sheet and paste those three? Pretty cool. All right, take your data in and out. All right, background maps. I have how many marks? 24 marks, 24 states where marijuana is legal. Don't look, I don't know. California is apparently one. That's not the tip. All right. So how do I fix this here? I want to create some map layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to say, hey, give me a list of the 48 continuous states, which ChatGPT already gave me. Now, Andy did this tip already, so I'm not going to get too excited about this one, but I'll just put this off to the side and just minimize this for a second. Andy showed a quick that I was going to add in here. You just throw your spreadsheet in here, and it'll load that data into Tableau for you. So now I have ChatGPT created the 48 lower states. Well, why do I want the lower 48 states? Because I have a state name. I can add that to my map layers for my marks, put that on there, and with my state name, what can I do with that? I'm going to make it a map. I'm going to change the color opacity to nothing. I'm going to give it a border, maybe black. And now when I go up to my maps, I love just unveiling it, right? We can just wash the whole map out. And I have the background for the missing states on a nice map. Super easy to do. By the way, if you like that data set, you know you can go to that data set and right-click on it, and you can say, add to my saved data sources. Did you know that? And then when you click on the button up here, I'm just going to add it in here real quick. I took it out, added it in, replaced it, whatever. Now when I click on this, 48 states is down there, over there on the left-hand side, so you can see that. I am at time, aren't I? All right. I will cut it there.
Anybody counting?
No.
Anybody taking notes?
Writing it down.
That happened a couple years ago, right? Somebody tried to take notes. It was
Yeah.
really funny. All right. I decided that I'm going to do something different now that Jeff is showing off up here. What'd you do with my phone? Oh, see, he's sabotaging me up here. All right, so Jeff showed you a bit of.
Wait a minute.
Bit
Let's
of,
get your,
huh?
Now I'm sabotaging you. I'm Andy's audio guy.
Yeah. Got to bring my staff with me. If you've ever tried to create a donut chart, you typically have a field that's like the average of 0, right? You do the average of 0, and then you change it to a pie, and you maybe put category on color and not profit, like sales on angle, right? Something like that. Make it the entire view. And then if you want to make it a donut, let me make that a bit bigger. You have to drag this in here again, make this one a circle, and so on. Everybody done a donut chart that way before? Well, there's actually a much easier way. So I'm in the wrong place here, that's okay. But what you could do actually instead is you could use map layers. So if you just create a point that's at 0, 0, that's null island for those that need to look it up, and you double click on that, I have that there. And then I could make this one a pie. So let me change that to a pie. And I'll do the same thing. I'll split it up by, I'll go crazy and split it up by region this time. And sales onto the angle. So we get something like that. You can't really see it yet, that's okay. But if I drag another 0 on, I'll get another map layer. And I'm going to change this one to a circle. Okay, this is going to be kind of my inside. And now I'm going to go up here to my map and turn off my background maps. And now I have something like that, right? So now I can control the size a bit easier. So let me make this bigger, with something like that. And then I'll make this one maybe something like that. Anybody else play around with the size like 400 times before you get it right? And you can make a donut. Well, I don't want anybody to be able to kind of click on this middle part here. So in map layers, you can actually deselect things. So you click on that, disable selection, and they can no longer click on it. So I click there, nothing, why aren't you there? But the great thing about map layers is I can add as many as I want. So maybe I want to do a third layer this time. I'm going to put this one on the bottom. This is like a hierarchy. I'll make this one a pie as well. And this time I'll put maybe product onto color. And I will also put region onto detail and add that to color because you can have multiple fields on the color shelf. If you don't like the order of those, just rearrange them. And if I make this one bigger, so we should see it kind of pop up in the background at some point. Okay, there we go. And you can make as many layers as you want. Don't do that, please, but you can if you want. But another neat thing is, now that I have the layers there, I actually don't even need latitude and longitude anymore. And it'll fit the view, so I made it way too big, but now I can control the size a bit easier. Let me just remove these layers. Let me remove that one as well. And now I can make it fit the entire view. And it looks like a constellation or something. But now you've got a lot more control over the size of your donut, so just get rid of the latitude and longitude. Okay. So I'm going to skip ahead here, and I liked Jeff's barbell chart, but I want to make it look a bit better. Actually, yeah, I'm going to make it look a bit better. So, sorry, Jeff. So we've got, what'd you do it on? Sales? Sales? Good enough.
It was,
okay.
yeah.
So let's put sales on the left to right. That's columns. And anybody else do that as well? You have to kind of think in your head what goes left to right. And I'll do it by gender. So I'm going to split that up. And I don't want to do that. That could get, let me see. I'll just filter down to 2 regions, Midwest and Northeast. Okay, and I'll put, what did I say, region? I'm going to put region on color. And I'm going to try to put region on color. There we go. And I'll make these circles. So you saw Jeff do this, right? And I'm going to duplicate that field. Make this one a line. 400 clicks later, I've got what we're looking for. Okay, something like that. I now need to make it a dual axis. Shouldn't this be easier? Anybody else think this should be easier? Okay. And I'll synchronize and make this the entire view. Well, Jeff's, he's just got this really simple barbell chart. Let me uncheck. And I'll split this up by, let's say, product. Okay, so now we've got multiple barbell charts. But what I want to do instead of having the circles there is I'm actually going to make these shapes instead. So let me make this a shape, and I'm going to drag region onto the shape shelf as well. Actually, I'm going to take it off of color. And if you have custom shapes, you can click on shape, And I've got tons and tons of shape palettes here, but I'm going to use, which one do I want to? I'm going to use cat emojis. So the Midwest is the shocker, and the Northeast is the hearts, because everybody likes Philadelphia better than the Midwest. And now I can make those better, and you now have an angry cat barbell chart. I don't know. I don't know what the point of that was, but I just thought it would be funny. Okay, so we're almost, oh no, we've got 5. I got loads of time.
You got loads.
I want to show you how to do the top, I want to show you how to sort the top and bottom 5 separately. Okay, so I've got my top 5, I want to sort my top 5, I'm going to sort descending, and I want my bottom 5 sorted the opposite way. So let's look at, for example, let's look at profit, because some of them are going to be positive, some of them are going to be negative. Hopefully this works out in this case. This does not, of course. Let me see. So I should have some negative states. So if I sort them like this, I've got some positive, some negative, right? I want to sort them separately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a calculated field. I'm going to call this top or bottom, if you could spell. All right, and I'm just going to say it's 2 of them. Okay, so I'm just going to say the rank of the sum of profit is there. And it's automatically descending, so I'm going to say that's less than or equal to 2, or the rank of the sum of profit ascending, comma, ascending, is less than or equal to 2, right? So that's going to give me both ranges. It's just going to give me a true false. I'm going to drag that onto the, let's just put it on the color for now so you can see what it's doing, right? So I've got my top and bottom colored. Great, so now I can actually just filter to those. So let's drag that. We want to just keep the trues. All right, so we've got our top and bottom. But now what I want to actually do is, I don't know why this isn't colored anymore, because they're not all true. Oh yeah, they are all true. Anyway, so that's how you can filter by a table calculation. But I want to actually have the bottom 2 sorted the opposite way. Does that make sense? So if I, let me go back and get rid of, okay, I'm going to leave it like that. So when I get down here to the bottom, I want to be able to flip it around. So I'm going to grab my top or bottom and move that to the rows so I'm trying to go too fast. Put that in the rows, and now I've got my true and my false, so I'm just going to rearrange those. All right. No, I'm not, because I can't move it. There we go. Okay. So Jeff, I'm messing up. Okay, there we go. So what I want to do now is I want to create a calculated field that is just my absolute sort. And I'm just going to do the absolute ABS, like abs,
Zoom in.
of the sum of profit. Hit OK. And now if I drag that on, or I don't even need to drag it on, I can now sort my states by my absolute sort. Nope, not data source, field, absolute sort, descending order. And we got that. We go down to the bottom, and now those are sorted the opposite way. I think they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can probably picture it better in your head than the way I just demoed it. All right. Another thing I like to do is, let's say that I want to make this actually a vertical bar chart. So there is a nice little icon up here, this little swap icon. So if you ever just want to switch your columns and your rows, click that. If you want to change where fields are, you can highlight 2 of them in this case, and you can right-click and swap. So for example, let me take that off, and I want to swap state and this one around. I can do that and swap any 2 fields. So that's a really, really good time saver there. Okay, scatter plot. Where is my scatter plot? There we go. That's the really good one. All right. So I'm going to look at maybe budget sales versus sales, and let's look at that for every order. Right? All members. Oh boy. Bad idea. Let's look at the account manager, Amanda Moore. Hopefully she's not in the naughty corner. But what I want to be able to do here is when I click on a dot, it's like really hard for me to see the values of that unless you hover over it. But what you can do is, first off, I would probably like reduce the number of marks. So let me just do something like, I bet you this ends up with none. Okay, there we go. So there's a neat little feature. If you click on a point, you can right-click on it, and you can choose show, oh no, that's not there, yeah, drop lines, and show your drop lines. So that tells you where it falls onto each axis, right? So as I click a different mark, you can see where it is, which is pretty cool, but I want to actually see the value as well. So if I right-click again, I can go to drop lines, edit drop lines, and go ahead and show the value. hit OK. And there you go. So now you can see the exact values of the mark that you click on. So super handy for a really busy scatter plot.
We're out of time.
All right. Are you kicking me off again?
Yeah, we're out of
Oh,
time.
we're out of time. Okay.
But tell them about the next tip session.
On Thursday, I'm going to do a whole new set of tips. So come back on Thursday.
He's going to make me do that too.